We all have this spark that makes us wake up every day and do what we do. The things that I'm doing when it comes to impact female founder, raising strong community, having a fund that invests in diverse team and female founder is a need, is not something that's nice to have. Welcome, Jasper, to my talk show today. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Thank you, Mali. How are you?
I'm good. I'm super happy to have you today. I'm in Berlin. You're in Munich. Maybe we will start with you telling me what is keeping you busy these days.
Very strong connection, Munich and Berlin, even in pandemic times.
Even.
What keeps me busy? Even, absolutely. What keeps me busy? New week, new start of spring. Today was a lot about strategizing with the team. It's currently going crazy in terms of lead investment and also co-investors. As you know, we're trying at Capacura to digitize and to democratize the impact VC world and also bring a new mindset, a more inclusive thinking, a more sustainable mindset into the VC world.
Absolutely. And we will dive into the conversation about VC world and investor, absolutely, more of it today. But before that, maybe let's talk about you. Let's talk about things that usually we're not talking in any other WLOUNGE platform. And something you mentioned before that it's really magic to me, it's about the motivation around homecoming. What does it mean for you?
Very true. It took me a long time to be brave enough and to be determined enough to come back to Munich, where my heart and where my home is. It's a good question. There was first, obviously, the motivation to go as far as possible, to find out what the world or what different realities are all about. And having grown up in Munich in a very affluent and very wealthy reality myself, I think it took me during my teenage years when I read probably one of the most important books in my life from Jean Ziegler, the special analyst of the World Bank and World Food Program back in the days. And he essentially put in his book the empire of scam or shame, saying that currently we are 7 billion people living in the world. We could feed 12 billion, and every day still 1 billion go to bed hungry. And that kind of equalization or that phrase just always stuck in my mind.
What was the time that you took the decision to become an impact investor? Because being an investor, it's one thing, but focusing on doing good while pushing your portfolios for revenue, this is something else.
You mentioned one crucial point, I think. It's a lot about the comfort zone. And for me, my way into social innovation and trying to impact society was quite clear from the beginning. What was interesting was always, I started in fundraising in the NGO world. I came back to Germany where, I had the red carpets right in front of me. I was supposed to take over an impact startup in the education sector here in Munich, and build the team, make the business profitable. And on the third day, after my arrival, our investor, which we thought was definitely on board, decided to cancel all negotiations very last minute. And the interesting thing was that it was actually what I kind of was missing in the UK was the Caritas, one of the biggest, welfare syndicates, essentially, in Germany. And all of a sudden, I was kind of forced into into the water where a lot of sharks were, and probably that was the year where I was probably the most frustrating year, but also the year I learned the most, because still early stage impact investment is not very popular or known. Still, there's not enough capital being invested in young startups in Germany generally. I think it's 2% compared to the US and to China, which is ridiculous.
But the
And I was
capital
always
is
faced with
existing. It's not lack of capital.
but it's not exactly being directed into early stage startups, which I think is a huge problem. And I was always faced with four big problems. The first one was the scene, the landscape of investors. There was always this mystifying about, I'm the business angel investor. So it was not transparent at all. It was not on eye level on both sides. I had a lack of knowledge, but I had the feeling for a lot of investors, I was a hobby. It was the investment sums or the tickets were rather small. And you have that gap between business angel tickets and tickets funds would do. So normally business angel tickets is 50K. The funds do never less than 500,000. And you have that valley of death. And the third one was it took ages. I had 7, 8 meetings with these investors. And fourth, it wasn't digital at all. So it was very old school until I actually met my current business partner and the founder of Capacura, Ingo.
What is the challenges? Is it the scouting? Is it the quality? What is missing here?
I think the problems they lie on both sides. So far, if you look into Germany, who are the people that really shaped the VC worlds? It was the Zamva brothers, it was the rocket philosophy, it was this high speed, purely business school graduating mindset.
Same universities for
seeing
same
a problem.
Founders from same investor.
Exactly. Same stories, same narrative, same storytelling.
Yeah.
And you would have them sitting at both ends. And obviously, equal attracts equal. And that's exactly the barrier we need to break down massively. And the parts and our part, hopefully, to the solution is that we have created and developed an AI-based valuation tool to kind of put all these sentiments, all these little things in between the lines aside for a moment and have an independent look at the business idea, at the team.
So it's not biased.
At
Never.
the strategic
it's not a
fit.
decision.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
Maybe you can share more about this. How many startups already applied through this process?
It's interesting because when I met Ingo, he essentially felt like the outlier at all these events, at business angel clubs, and there were essentially 85% were 60 plus old white men. And he didn't understand their thinking. He didn't understand how slow they were reacting. He was sitting at different panels. They would never invest, although they would say they would do. And he said, we need to change this dramatically. And essentially, we have, and that was quite easy because we saw a niche in the market. I think there's PwC is essentially has one evaluation tool where you pay 150 euros. But other than that, there was nothing. And we kind of tried to exactly have a really comprehensive analysis, which is still very quick because we do it on AI basis. And I think on the 2 years ago, there were around 300 startups that applied for funding at Capacura. Last year was 600. And our goal is that every startup in Germany goes through our evaluation tool. And then obviously we would be happy to share this with our findings, our reports with other investors, with always the goal in mind, help startups to secure the funding as quickly as possible.
I'm super happy and I'm so proud of hearing you speaking like this, because I think when we met, we talked about how WLOUNGE can open these doors and what we can do together to put these messages out there. And we all know that the VCs are quite not really going together for co-investment, and we need to see it more and more here in Germany. I have a tricky last question. And it may sound like a bit politics, but we're always talking in between, What do you
I'm all
really
about politics.
wish for the German or European politics when it comes to be very attractive ecosystem for investors and for, I would say, younger generation, and not only younger generation, to really raise the success companies here?
The easy answer is probably look at the countries who do it a lot better than we do.
Mm-hmm.
And
like whom,
by
for
that
example?
I don't mean the Silicon Valley ultra capitalistic hyper growth investor and VC scene. I think that's not where Europe should go. I don't think either that Europe should go the Asian way, where you have a lot of state-driven investment. Sometimes it seems a bit unethical, but I think there's a unique historical chance for Europe to be the human, impact-driven, sustainable block in between these two. And I think countries who do that already very, very well, obviously the Scandinavian countries, Estland, for example, Estonia is doing it very well. To attract new talents, to keep them. But also I think in Germany you have different states who do better than others. Mm-hmm. I was impressed, having been at many investor days at Sachsen or Thüringen. They have perfect starting conditions for startups. And they really try to attract that talent.
Yeah. You see the movement.
And make it... Well. I see absolutely the movement. For politics, be a lot more open-minded. I think there's so much happening underneath the surface at the moment, and give new businesses the chance to start quickly and put more capital into it and make it, I think, more publicly aware as well.
Fantastic. We can talk about this forever, as always, and I'm always happy having you on, every WLOUNGE different format, business circles or things that we're doing to really put this out loud, outside as a message. And also as an investor, I would like to say you're quite unique when you really coming also as a mentor. Even when startups are really pitching, you are really tend to take like different approach. And I really like that. And I appreciate that, because I think female founders actually need that even more to see that the door is open. So I wish we
that
will
was
have...
Actually,
yes.
That was actually, and I first of all want to thank you. Thank you for your trust. Thank you for your openness. For giving me the opportunity to come in as a mentor. For one of my most magical moments was actually last year with the amazing F-Lane accelerator, which you designed together with, or WLOUNGE designed together with F-Lane from Vodafone, was the moment where I was sitting in a room, in a digital room full of women and amazing female entrepreneurs, and where we exactly came down to the point that some were really frustrated in terms of fundraising, and it seemed like at the end we were hitting a wall, but afterwards I actually checked in with some of them, and I think a lot of good things came out of that. Fantastic. So that was a pure magical moment. And another one, I really want to thank you again. Also, be always open, an incredible connector and a role model for the VC world of the future. When I met through you, Juliane Schiefer, one of the most impressive women and impressive I've met last year. Exactly these type of new investors we need to make a real difference.
Fantastic. So what can I say after that? Thank you so much, Jasper, for the time, for the willingness, for being so unique and drive to, the mission and the goal and like you always say, like dance like no one is looking. This is what you're doing. Thank you so much. And I'm sure this is not the last time we will speak on this format. I'm very proud to having you on my podcast, on my talk show, and have a great evening.
It was a great pleasure, Mali. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.